Hey, Pokedad fan club, it's me, Pokedad, and I know it's been a while since I've recorded a video. Um, been a little busy around here, and also just covered a lot of good decks already, and I'm waiting for Breakpoint. But here's one that's been popping up at cities. Russell Lepar actually did a article on this because I think he was pretty much the main guy to build this deck, and this is the Gallade Octillery deck. And this deck is very, very fun. I've enjoyed it, and at the same time, it's pretty competitive. I mean, it's doing really well in cities. It's making a lot of top eights. I do think that there's people, though, that have recognized how good it is, and they're making counters for it. I'm not sure. As the meta shifts, I'm not sure how good this deck will continue to do. But like I said, it's a lot of fun. So basically, we have one main attacker, and that's Gallade. And I know we've seen a lot of the Eviltal Zoroark Gallade decks where you try to Maxie's Hidden Ball trick the Gallade in. But in this deck, we're just trying to evolve it naturally. Of course, we're going to use Rare Candy to speed up that process, and that's how we get most of our Gallades in. Fortunately, with Karina, though, we can if we can get the Ralts on the bench, then the next turn we can Karina for Rare Candy and a Gallade, and we're off to the races. And ideally, we want to try to have one Gallade and one Octillery set up by the end of turn 2. If we can do that, we're in a really good position because these two cards synergize really well together. So let's talk about Octillery first. If you've watched anything on YouTube, you've probably seen Octillery already, but for those of you that maybe haven't, maybe new to the game, Abyssal Hand lets you draw your hand back up to 5 cards every single turn. So you're always going to get card draw with Octillery. And the one cool thing about this deck is we don't play any EXs. We don't play Shaymin EX. We don't play any other EX cards because most of our card draw comes through Octillery. Now, one thing I should warn you about this deck is most of the time you're only going to have 5 cards in your hand until you take a prize. And even then you might still only have 5. But that's okay. And it feels kind of weird, especially if you're used to playing Sycamore and you're having, 7 cards in your hand, and then if you play like Slurpuff and you do Tasting and you could have potentially 8 or 9 or 10 cards in your hand, it feels weird playing just 5 cards almost the whole game. And that wouldn't be very good, except that Gallade in itself has not only a great attack, but also a great ability, and that is Premonition. Once during your turn, you may look at the top 5 cards of your deck and put them back on the top of your deck in any order. So here's the thing that's really cool is, so you're going to draw up to 5 cards. If you have 2 cards in hand, you know Octillery is going to draw you 3 more cards. Premonition allows you to look at those top 5 cards. You know you're going to get 3, so you get to choose the 3 of those 5 that you want. And oftentimes you're going to look at those top 5, and there's going to be some card in there that you can use right away. And that's the advantage to using Gallade and Octillery together, so that you can find exactly the cards you need. If you need a DCE, if there's one in those top 5 cards, you just put it to the top of the deck, and then when you use Abyssal Hand with Octillery, you got DCE in your hand. Another cool thing is after you've done Abyssal Hand, if you have a second Gallade on the bench, you can then use Premonition again to make sure that you get whatever card you want for the next card draw, so your next turn. Combine that with Sensitive Blade, and we've got a very good attacker here. He does 60 damage for double colorless, but then he also, if you play a supporter card from your hand during this turn, this attack does an additional 70, so you're hitting for 130. Now, the one thing that Russell Lepar, when I read his article, and other people have said, is we're not trying for one-hit KOs with this deck. We're simply just trying to hit 2-hit KOs. And here's the thing. We're also trying to hunt Shaymins. So we want to be able to try to take Shaymin out, and then We try to target whistle the Shaymin back. We play one target whistle, take the Shaymin back, put it back on their bench, then Lysander it up again, and then take it out again. And so there's 4 of our prizes right there. If they just play one Shaymin, if they play more than one, then we can just take 3 Shaymins and game over. And in the meantime, they're going to have to try to knock out 6 of our Pokemon because we're not playing any EXs. The other thing that we can use along with Gallade is we use Focus Sash. So this deck actually matches up pretty well against Night March because Night Marchers, Night Marchers first of all play a lot of Shaymins, but secondly, even if they didn't play Shaymin, you can put a Focus Sash on this Gallade, they can hit you for 1 billion, but it's still only going to bring it back down to 140, where you'll still have 10 HP left. That allows you to take 2 Night Marchers out to their 1 Gallade. So this matches up really well against Night March. So if you're looking for a deck that can beat Night March, this is a really good one, especially since, again, you can just target down Shaymins and finish them off that way. All right, let's look at a few other little supporters, and then we'll talk about some more of the nuances in this deck. We've already mentioned a couple, and this isn't the exact build that Russell did. I've changed it a little bit for my own preference, and really, you should really do that. You shouldn't just take a list strictly from someone, and I mean, if you want to play it that way, you know it's already battle tested, but you also should kind of put a little bit of your own personality into it, and you know, depending also on the meta, you should consider other cards. So I'll talk about a few other cards that maybe wasn't in Russell's article. Anyway, we play 4 Ralts. Ralts is what we start with. We could play the you could play Kirlia. I mean, you could play the Psychic Ralts in Kirlia. However, they usually require a Psychic Energy for their first attack. And the Fairy Ralts with Mumble and a Muscle Band, which we're not playing one in here. I just found that it wasn't very useful, but in the original list it did. Mumble and a Muscle Band could take out a Joltik if you needed it to. So that's a possibility. However, this one is still better because you can still use Mumble and attack with that. And also the Kirlia can do a Calm Mind for just fighting energy. So could potentially heal yourself if they damage you, which is cool. Most of the time you're not going to be in that situation. You're going to be getting to Gallade pretty quickly. Hopefully, ideally, we again want to do turn 2 Gallade, and then from there just keep streaming Gallades through rare candies. And then we also do play just the 1 Kirlia, and here's the reason why. So you're going to be trying to get Gallades in through rare candy, but then at some time you can build another one kind of manually, and so it helps stream it just in case you don't get the rare candy, or you don't have a Karina in hand or whatever. For whatever reason, this allows you to just, if you just have it already at Kirlia, you just have to find the Gallade and evolve that way. So Kirlia can be just really useful to have 1 copy. Some decks play 2 copies. I originally played it with 2 copies to help with the item lock. If you run against Toad or Vileplume, most likely you're going to have a tough time. And here's the reason. Even if you do play a 4-2-4 line and try to evolve it manually, you're still going to have a hard time running into it because you won't be able to use level balls. You won't be able to use any searching cards to get it. Unfortunately, Karina doesn't grab fairy type Pokemon. I wish fairies would get some kind of card like Karina. That would be really, really neat, but they don't. So we have to just try to draw into the Kirlia, and that just usually doesn't work very well. If we're not under item lock, then we can always grab, like if we draw into a level ball, we can just grab the level ball and then evolve naturally. A lot of level balls, though, are also used to help us get the Remoraid and Octillery out. So what do we do if we are under item lock? Well, there's not really a whole lot we can do, but we do play 1 Jirachi. So if we're playing like a Seismitoad Giratina variant, we can use Stardust to maybe break the lock for a turn, and a lot of times that can help get us rolling with getting a Gallade. And once we get that first Gallade and that Octillery out, then we can kind of stream things. Again, we're still going to need to stream rare candies, so it's good to try to keep Jirachi around. I even considered bumping this up to 2, because once people see Jirachi on your bench, they do tend to try to target it down. So anyway, but Jirachi can help break the lock. Now against Vileplume, you're probably looking at an auto loss there. The only thing you can kind of do with like Vespiquen Vileplume, which is really popular now, is just try to delay them enough to cause them to deck out. That's probably the best way to beat them. But other than that, you're going to have a tough time against those decks. But other decks like Manectric, really even bats, decks with bats, Lucario bats, Manectric bats, Manectric especially, because Gallade's going to one-shot them unless they put the special energy on, the special lightning energy, flash energy I think it's called. So that being the case, you're going to be taking KOs 2 prizes to 1 against Lucario and Manectric, and even though they may break your sashes with bats, again you're going to target down the Shaymins and try to take them out that way. So still pretty good. Hawlucha can be an attacker. We're only running fighting energy, no strong energy, but that's 60 damage, and if we put a focus sash on, 60 damage can be really, really useful here. And we can even use Hex Maniac to knock Shining Spirit off, which will then allow us to hit for weakness. And then we can hit 120 on Manectric. If we got a focus sash, he may break the sash, but then we can come back with a Flying Press the next turn and knock him out. So Hawlucha can still be useful, but his main purpose is because he's a free retreater. When we get knocked out, we can promote Hawlucha so that we can then again we don't have to decide exactly who we want to put up right away. Hawlucha can let us retreat into whoever we need to after we've already kind of played our turn out. Also, Hawlucha is another fighting target for Karina. Eventually you get your hand clogged up with Gallades, so if you don't want to you don't want to try to clog your hand up with Gallades, because we want to be able to draw as much as we can with Abyssal Hand. So Hawlucha is another target that Karina can grab, and then we can put that on the bench and get our hand back down to 1 or 2, and then Abyssal Hand it back up to 5. So that's kind of the idea there. All right, let's look at our item cards. We've already talked about many of them, and then we'll look at our supporters and go from there. All right, so Escape Rope. We play one of those. Some versions play a Float Stone. I prefer an Escape Rope. We're already playing Hawlucha, which has the free retreat, and once you play the Float Stone down, it's stuck, and a lot of times you'll have to play it prematurely before you actually need to use it, just because you want to draw Abyssal Hand quickly, whereas we can kind of hold on to the Escape Rope, and also it doubles as kind of like a half Lysander card, so that can be useful too. All right, we'll play 3 level balls. Some versions play 4. I'll tell you in a minute why we're only playing 3, but level ball is great to grab Ralts's, get the Remoraid or Octillery going. So we want to play 3 of those and get those going as quickly as possible. And sometimes we can even grab the Kirlia if everything else is already kind of set up. That can help us build another Gallade. Naturally, 4 rare candies, it's just a must. We want to try to get 4 to 5 Gallades out every game, and 4 rare candies will help us get that. And then with a Super Rod, we can also still get another one back with naturally evolving. So we should be able to get 5 Gallades out in an ideal game. You won't be able to get more than 5. It just usually doesn't happen. You usually don't get a 6th one. So that's why we play Super Rod and not play Sacred Ash in the deck. And also Super Rod can help us get energies back if we need it. We do play the 1 target whistle. This is one of those just awesome techs We don't want to play more than that because, again, it can kind of clog our hand up if we get it early. But again, just using this, if you don't have it in hand, on one turn you can grab the target whistle with Karina, go ahead and take a knockout on a Shaymin, and then next turn play the target whistle, put the Shaymin back down on their bench, and then Lysander it up. And a lot of times you can take the last 4 prizes in 2 turns, and your opponent doesn't even know what hit him. Trainer's Mail, I'd like to play more of these, but there's just really no room for it. But playing 2 of them allows us to extend into our deck and look a little bit further to find supporters that we need, or find another card that we can use. We play 2 Ultra Balls. Now this normally in this set, deck, it only plays 1, but because I'm playing such a high count of Bridget, I need something to kind of discard those out of my hand when it gets clogged up with Bridgets. Because once we use Bridget, ideally we want to try to get a turn 1 Bridget, which is why we play 4 of them. After that, we want to Ultra Ball the Bridgets away. And so having 2 of them in our deck allows us to kind of get cards that we don't need out of our hand. Now we play 4 VS Seekers. The one cool thing about this deck is, other than the Ultra Ball, you really have no cards that discard out of your hand. So you're not going to be sycamoring 3 VS Seekers in your hand like sometimes we draw into, because there is no sycamore in this deck. So you're always, the VS Seekers are really going to be all used. You're going to get 4 extra supporters with these VS Seekers. And the reason why it's so important, we play a pretty high line of supporters because Gallade's attack hits for 130 when we can play a supporter. So VS Seeker helps us to recycle the supporters we need, and also gives us flexibility to bring back whichever one we need at that particular time. Now we're playing 5 different types of supporter, and we're playing multiple copies of most of them except Hexmaniac. We talked about how that's kind of used in the Vile Plume variant. That can kind of we can Hexmaniac VS Seeker for the Hexmaniac, and hopefully we have, if our hand's big enough when we get the Hexmaniac, we'll have ability to use the rare candies, get Gallades out, and start moving that way with the Vile Plume. The 4 Bridget, so we talked about that. We want to really try to get this on turn 1. If we can get this turn 1, we're really moving, simply because to be able to search for three Pokemon, getting 2 Raltsas down and a Remoraid down on turn 1 puts us at a great board position state, because we're now ready to next turn we can Karina Rare Candy, Gallade, and if we can maybe draw into a level ball, we can get the Octillery going, or maybe we even have Octillery in our hand already, and the Remoraid would just be a great card to put on our bench. And we also can grab Jirachi or Hawlucha if we need those in any particular instance at the time. Alright, we talked about Hexmaniac. Judge. We played 2 Judge. This is only our only draw card. And it works really well with Octillery, because if let's say we don't have really any good, we want to use this Karina, but we don't have it. We don't have a VS Seeker. But we can Judge, which is going to shuffle up our deck. And then we're going to draw 4. It's going to then disrupt our opponent's hand, keep getting them back down to 4. And we're going to get 4 new cards. Most likely, the way this deck is built, you're going to be able to play a couple of them. Then we Premonition Abyssal Hand, and we're going to be back up to 5 anyway. So we're still going to see a good 7 or 8 cards on that turn anyway, even with a Judge. And at the same time, it causes our opponent to just have 4 cards. So that's why we like Judge. We play 2 of those. We don't use it a whole lot, but it does come in handy when we do need it. Again, we're playing 4 Bridgets and 4 Karinas, and that's the main focus of the deck. That's what we want to be trying to use. Karina, we've already talked about Karina a little bit. Karina grabs the Gallade, grabs the Hawlucha, and then we can grab whatever we need. If we already have Rare Candy in hand, we can grab a Focus Sash, we can grab a Level Ball to get another Ralts going, or to get a Remoraid, or to get an Octillery. We can grab the Escape Rope if we need to to get us out of a sticky situation. We can also late game grab the target whistle. So Karina is just really invaluable here. We can also grab a VS Seeker. Let's say we got a Lysander in the discard pile. We want to use it. So we grab the VS Seeker, grab Lysander, and next turn they know it's coming. So they either have to disrupt our hand, which there's not a whole lot other than red card and judge. And even if they do, again, we've got Octillery and Premonition, so there's a good chance we'll draw back into it anyway. But anyway, Karina just is a real good setup card in this deck. It just gets whatever we need at that particular time. So we play a 4 of with Karina. Now some deck lists I think play a 3-3 of these, but I've chosen to bump these up to a 4-4 just because they are so crucial in the deck, and I want to try to get them early into the game. I want to try to have a 1-2, turn 1, turn 2. And then we're rolling pretty much because we're going to guarantee that we have a Gallade. And even if we don't have Octillery, we still get to use Premonition. So the next card draw, we're going to get to look at the top 5 and pick the best card for us for the next card draw. So I like that. And then we play 2 Lysanders, and we've already talked about that, Lysandering the Shaymins, or I've even target whistled other stuff like an Eviltal EX. They have one on the bench that's already powered up and ready to go. And so I just target whistled an Eviltal EX that had no energy on it, Lysandered up, and then Sensitive Blade. And I didn't knock it out, but they either have to have a switch or they have to have something else to get it out of the active. And if they don't, then I just Sensitive Blade for the game. So it doesn't have to be just Shaymin EX. It can be in another EX that's going to take a while to set up. Just put it in the active and start Sensitive Blading it. Anyway, I do play 2 stadiums. This is one thing that's different from other lists. I do play 2 stadiums because I feel like the opponent's stadiums are so key to his strategy that to not be able to knock those stadiums out at all is dangerous. I mean, if they get like a Seismitoad or a water deck where they're able to kind of use Rough Seas and keep healing off the damage, retreating, hit with something new, retreat, keep healing all that stuff off, then I've got a problem because my Gallade can't take one-hit KOs on them. So I can counter Rough Seas, I can counter Skyfield if I need to. Parallel City kind of puts me at a disadvantage, so I can counter that. And the reason why I chose Magnetic Storm, this stadium is rarely ever used, but the one issue that Gallade has is when he runs into like Baby Eviltals and Eviltal EX and Crobats and those kind of things where we're resistant. They're resistant to us. Well, we can take this Magnetic Storm, knock their resistance off, and then we can still one-shot Baby Eviltals and one-shot Crobats. And so I just found that this to be a very, very useful card in play, because to two-shot a Baby Eviltal is not very good, because that means they're going to Oblivion Wing twice, and they're going to get 2 energies onto some Eviltal in the back, and then they're just going to go crazy all over us. So Magnetic Storm really helps shut that down. We do play 3 Focus Sashes. Well, I did cut the Muscle Band just because, I felt like Magnetic Storm was a better way to hit the extra 20 damage on resistant Pokemon than Muscle Band was. So I cut the Muscle Band and I play 3 Focus Sashes. I think that's pretty much standard for most of these deck lists. And then as far as energy goes, we play 4 double colorless, and we play 5 fighting energy. I tried actually to use 1 strong energy just to see if I could use it consistently, and the problem is you really can't. You can't attach strong energy to Ralts because it's a fairy, and so that means you have to start off with attaching a fighting energy and then hope that you evolve into Gallade and then put the strong energy on. But if the strong energy is in your hand, again, it's clogging up your hand. So it's just better to just play the standard fighting energy. Turn 1, if we can get a fighting energy on a Ralt instead of a double colorless, that's ideal, because then they can't enhance hammer it off. And then next turn we have the option, we can put a double colors on maybe a different Ralts and evolve that and then move forward, or we can put another fighting energy on this one and move forward. So it gives us a little more flexibility. Anyway, guys, this is PokeDad. This is the Gallade Octillery deck. It's pretty fun. It is a little skill-based, and it can be have a little bit of a learning curve. So please, if you do try it, don't give up on it right away. Practice with it a little bit. Begin to feel how Premonition and Abyssal Hand work together. Make sure you use those as many times in one turn as you can. And anyway, this is PokeDad signing out. Hit like for me. Hit a thumbs up. Trying to get 20 likes on this video. So if you'll hit the thumbs up for me, just takes a second. I'd really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed to us, please feel free to subscribe. We enjoy every single comment also, and we really appreciate the Pokemon community. So thanks again, guys. This is PokeDad signing off. We'll talk to you later. Bye.